Welcome to Coffee Break with Rachel V. Hill, presented by Superbook Sports. Taking a daily look at the biggest stories in Denver sports and interacting live with you, the Coffee Break fam. So sit back, relax, grab a cup of joe, and enjoy your coffee break. Here's your host, Rachel V. Hill.
It's a Thursday. What's up, D-Mac? How are you? What's new? Did you survive the crazy storm we had here in the Mile High City?
That was wild.
Crazy.
What was going on last night, Rach? What was life in Roxborough like last night?
It was actually insane. Okay, so fun story. We were actually going to be in studio today, but I woke up, and for anybody that takes like melatonin, I rarely take it, but like if I can't sleep by 2 a.m., I'm like, all right, it's time to knock myself out. We're going to bed. So it's 2 a.m. and I'm like, all right, my brain just will not shut down thinking about everything from the show to the wedding to like hanging out with friends, yada, yada, yada. So I take some melatonin at 2 a.m. At 4 a.m., I guess it was like 3:45-ish, all of a sudden there's this huge thing of thunder that comes over the mountain. And I'm like, what the heck is that? And I'm like, am I dreaming on this? Like, what is this? All of a sudden, we're in a thunderstorm for probably like an hour and a half. The lightning was so crazy. We had a spark or a strike that hit down like half a mile from my house. Okay. Like, it was just absolutely insane. And so I essentially went back to bed at 7 a.m. this morning. And
whoa. Wow. Okay. Damn.
Yeah, I got like an hour and a half of sleep and then, went back to sleep. I think the last time I looked at the clock was like 6:40. And then after that,
Oh, that sucks. That sucks. I'm glad you're soldiering up here today, Rachel.
Who knows what's going to come out of my mouth? It could be a really fun show.
You're cowboy up for Rachel V. Hill today. So, stress about the wedding? Do we have something new about the wedding? Is there anything?
No, still just the same. We have a call today with one of the venues that we're looking at to see, like I said yesterday on the show, we're trying to like mingle some things in to make it be like a little bit more pleasing. So we'll see. But that call is today. So of course I was up thinking about that. And then there's all sorts of things. Like there's just so much. It's crazy. Honeymoons, like I like to find good deals. Like I enjoy finding those things. So like those are like on the top of my mind. And then I'm like, oh, well, if we like look now, like we might be able to find the best deal.
What are we thinking for honeymoon? What kind of locations are we kind of dreaming about?
Europe, honestly, like dream honeymoon right now would be to take a like 7-day Greece cruise. After that, go over to Paris for a few days and then go to Switzerland for a few days.
Where does the Greece cruise through? Where does that go?
Mykonos, Santorini. I think you stop someplace in Turkey. I'm trying to remember the other ones.
Is that down the Danube?
I don't know.
Right,
I just board the boat and I hope I arrive somewhere. Okay.
I did a little project in 4th grade about the country of Hungary, and Budapest is actually split in two by the Danube. So that kind of ends my knowledge about Hungary. Other than the fact, isn't where Liam Neeson was in one of his Taken movies? Was it? No. Yeah. I don't know. Who knows?
I've only seen one of those movies.
Well, that sounds like an amazing vacation, honeymoon rather. That sounds incredible. So
we'll see if I can pull it off. I just saw Adam Scheffner tweeted out it. The best quarterbacks in Madden 24. So if we all remember, Patrick Surtain had come out as the top cornerback. Well, he doesn't rank the highest. Actually, Jalen Ramsey comes in at 97. Alexander comes in at 95, and Surtain comes in at 94. Sauce Gardner at 93. So he comes in at number 3. Interesting.
Yeah. How does that work? Madden ratings, like who's in charge of that deal? Well, I don't know. I mean, Jalen Ramsey is really good. He's been traded twice. Yep. Jalen Ramsey. I mean, I don't know about Madden ratings, but he's obviously still considered one of the top cornerbacks. And Rachel, I just want to point out one of the top cornerbacks has been traded 2 times. Okay. 2 times. Once for 2 first-round picks, and the second time he was traded, it was like for a Chipotle gift certificate. It was the value was, I think it was like a 3rd and a 5th, something like that. My point is, Rachel, okay, like if you're gonna trade a cornerback because you need to build your team up, the window is small to get maximum value.
True.
That's it. So when it comes to Surtain, I mean, everybody's talking about like Cortland Sutton, at the trade deadline. Listen, man, and the trade deadline is very early in the NFL season. So it kind of sucks. Like the season could still be up in the air. You could still do things. If you're 3-5, is the season over? Are you really going to want to get rid of one of your best players if you're 3-5? I mean, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
And this is kind of the weird, sticky situation the Broncos may be in. Looking at the Broncos schedule, though, Rach, it does look like, man, you got the Raiders at home. You got the Commanders at home. It does look like there's a very promising start, at least for the start of the season.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%. I'm actually curious to everybody in the comments to let us know. Would you be willing to trade Pat Surtain? D-Mac, do you still think you could get 2 first-rounders for him?
I don't know. I think you could have last year. I think you could have before the league year started.
Okay.
But I don't know. And listen, everybody, this isn't being a Pat Surtain hater. This is actually really respecting how good this guy is and just appreciating what you have to do if it's, and again, it all circles back to quarterback, because if it's not working out with Russ and you want to move up to get a younger Drake May, Caleb Williams, you're going to need ammo to do so. And finally, the Broncos do have a first-round pick in 2024 after not having a first-round pick for 2 years. So we'll see. Listen, I want the Broncos to succeed. They start off 2-0. Man, that's a great start. And, you sort of go from there. But there's always got to be something in the back of your mind about, well, what if? You can have a very positive what if and, sort of a negative side what if. You've got to have some sort of plan. And, Rachel, I'm not spitting in the wind here. I mean, they traded Vaughn. They traded Bradley Chubb. They've traded Demaryius Thomas. It's not like they haven't traded valuable assets at the trade deadline in the past. It's not unusual.
It's not unusual, and that's kind of what's crazy. I'm seeing the comments. 2 first, yes. If not, keep him. No, I wouldn't trade PS2. Would you trade Champ Bailey? Okay.
For 2, well, it depends where you were. Like with Champ Bailey, they were going to the AFC Championship game.
Yeah.
They went to the Super Bowl. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they had some good teams with Champ Bailey. They were winning with Champ Bailey. So why would I trade Champ Bailey if we're winning? Sure. I would never, ever listen. I would be vehemently against trading Pat Surtain if the Broncos are, winning games, Rachel, and we're looking at this like, okay, all right, here we go. If you're any kind of playoff team, I would never, ever in a million years trade Pat Surtain. Never in a million years. But what are you? And so would I trade Champ Bailey? Well, if I could get 2 first-round picks for Champ Bailey and the team was terrible, yes, of course I would. Why wouldn't you?
It breaks my heart just to even think about it, so I'm glad that it never happened. I remember when Champ went to training camp for the Saints, and I was devastated by it. I was like, I can't believe that this would happen. Why would you do such a thing? But then you look at it from the business side, and Champ was done with his career. I think we can all agree with it. At that point, he was just done. It still breaks your heart when it's one of your favorite players. Yeah,
I mean, it's a cornerback position. He's playing into his 30s. That is super hard to do. Yeah. These young guys, these young receivers, the athleticism is off the charts. Yeah. Champ has all my respect and admiration and love. I love Champ Bailey. Yeah. It's just that the end, Rachel, the end of careers are the end of careers for a reason. Yeah. And it's just the way it goes. And when you play such an unbelievably athletic position like cornerback, where, you're it's the freaks of the freaks. It's the guys that can run the fastest, jump the highest, catch footballs like nobody's business. And I mean, these guys are just the admiration I have for their athletic ability is crazy.
Yeah.
But you don't get more athletic as you get older, unfortunately. Some positions you don't have to be that athletic. Some running positions. What's that?
I said same with running back. We've been talking about it all week.
Yeah, running back is in kind of this crazy death spiral right now. And I heard RG3 say something kind of similar to what I said. Mm-hmm. He said, you don't have as many years, like 4 years, make everybody 3 years and get rid of the franchise tag and the transition tag. And well, if you get, of course, the players would want to get rid of the tags. But the owners are never going to concede to that.
Mm-hmm.
So to fix the running back position, it's going to take concession by the rest of the players in the league to allow the running backs to do something that nobody else does, meaning lesser time served before they can get a new contract, and probably an extension like a franchise tag would be 2 years, not 1.
Yeah.
So that at least you would get 2, and you wouldn't just burn yourself out of football completely. But yeah, of course, you can get rid of the tags. But why would the owners ever agree to that?
Yeah.
I mean, so what Robert Griffin is basically doing, here's the truth. Here is the truth. If they really want to change things for running backs, the entire players union, Rachel, would have to go on strike.
Yeah.
They'd have to go on strike. And do you see the whole players, all the players going on strikes? Going on strike to benefit the running back?
Nope. It's definitely not happening. Actually, fun fact on RG3. He was married to my dentist's medical assistant's daughter. Yeah.
Got it.
So anytime I would come in, of course, when I was like, yeah, I'm going into sports when I was in college, they were always like, oh my gosh, you need to talk to RG3, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, I do, so let me know. But yeah, anyways.
Hey, how's that going?
Yeah, never seen him.
Not yet?
I've switched dentists since I have moved down south, so I no longer attend that dentist office. But I did for literally my entire life. Like my dad still goes there, I'm pretty sure. So literally.
Wait, is this a current wife? I don't know the marriage history of RG3. Is this his wife?
I think that they have a couple of kids. Like
okay.
Yep,
okay.
They're all still hanging. So
well, Rachel, if you want to get into the sports media business, you should hit him up.
Yeah, right. Clearly, that's all I need to do. Okay, we will bring in Will Peterson, though, because it's been a second since we've seen him, and he went to Taylor Swift, and we're still jealous about it. Will Peterson, good morning, my friend.
Hey, how are you guys? Yeah, I mean, we did do this last Thursday, but it feels like it's been a little bit of time.
Yeah, but you went to Taylor Swift in that time. Your life has changed since last Thursday, Will.
Dramatically. I'm just not even the same person anymore. No, it was fun. It was a great show. I told D-Mac on the drive that it was a 12 out of 10. And he said, well, why wasn't it a 13 out of 10? And I said, it could have been a 13 out of 10. I don't know where the limit exists.
Well, listen, this is just a tiny pet peeve. The limit is 10. All right. And I'm just going to.
Not with Taylor. Taylor's the one who can go to 12, D-Mac.
Okay.
Well, we were talking, though, before you came on about Adam Schefter's tweet about the Madden ratings and Patrick Surtain coming in at number 3. I'm curious your thoughts, considering everybody else has him ranked the number 1 cornerback, and yet he comes in at number 3 on this list.
Yeah, I mean, 2 polls in the last, 2 weeks now. The one with the league execs and scouts and players and coaches, he's number 1. Yep. And the one with some video game nerds, he's number 3. Which one are we going to take more seriously, right? The one with the league execs and scouts and coaches and players. So yeah, he's the top corner in the NFL, and I don't really take a lot of stock into the Madden rating guys putting him at number 3. I think that's a miss on their part.
I think an interesting question that Rachel brought up, and it comes up because of this ranking, and I'm rolling my eyes at the rankings and all that too. But when you see the same names come up over and over, you say, okay, these are the guys. So as long as you're one of the guys, who really cares if you're 1, 2, 3, 4? It's great to be one of those guys. What circumstances would it take, Will, for you to consider trading Patrick Surtain?
It's D-Mac's favorite thing.
I mean, they would have to get the trade would have to give them an avenue to a long-term answer at quarterback.
Yes.
And I'm just not so sure that a trade of Pat Surtain is going to lead to that, because no team in their right mind is going to trade their proven quarterback for a cornerback. And I'm sorry, but is Pat Surtain going to fetch the number 1 or number 2 overall pick to get Caleb Williams or Drake May? I don't think his value is quite that high unless a team randomly got the 1 or 2 pick that was already set at quarterback.
Yeah.
Like say
Houston.
Say Aaron Rodgers gets hurt in week 1. That would suck. Okay. But say that the Jets end up with the number 1 overall pick and they go, well, we're not going to take a quarterback because we already have a quarterback. So we'll trade you the number 1 pick for Pat Surtain, your first-round pick this year and your first-round pick next year. Well, if that could lead me to Caleb Williams, then I would consider it. But you guys can see here, it's taken a lot of hoops for me to jump through of what I would trade Pat Surtain for.
Yeah, I think Will strikes on something. I actually think the Jets, if that happened, I actually think they would take Caleb Williams. They would still have Aaron Rodgers under contract. He'd only have 2 more years. I don't think the Jets would actually. I think they would take him. I think.
Okay, bad example. Let's do Jacksonville. Let's say Trevor Lawrence
be like a Jacksonville or. Yeah. Okay. Fine. Somebody like that. They'd
be open for business. They'd be willing to trade the pick. They would.
I just think a more likely team. I think a more likely team just to end up there without even injuries would be like Houston. So, would you, if you're Houston, just sort of say, like the Bears did with Justin Fields, like, hey, man, we understand this is going to take time to develop. It stunk with Stroud, but it wasn't his fault. He's our guy. I think it'd have to take a team like that. But I don't think that's impossible. Houston, if you read some of the projections this year, Houston is picked virtually to be the worst team in the NFL by basically everybody.
Yeah, which means that they'll probably be better than a lot of teams. I feel like whenever that happens, then they end up doing actually pretty well.
But at the end of the day, yes, I do agree with you. I'm not trading Pat Surtain for no reason. I'm not trading him as he's bad. It's a combination of you'd have to be aggressive to get a quarterback, and you would have to kind of stink probably in the first place. You'd probably have to be a 6-11 team again to even, or I'm sorry, 5-12 team. Sorry, I gave the Broncos an extra win there, to sort of be in that conversation.
It's interesting. Let's just hope that this doesn't happen and we can stop the Pat Surtain trade talks. Like, let's hope Russell Wilson looks really good this season. But
by the way, I'm the only one that's talking about the Pat Surtain trade talks.
Yeah, I was going to say, this is a DMAC thing. I haven't heard any other people think about it.
If you want to stop it, just tell me to shut up.
But honestly, I think that if they do stink and there is no hope with Stidham or Russell Wilson, DMAC, I think that this conversation will appear more and more and more. Like if
I gotta stop you there. It's gonna appear more and more with Justin Simmons and with Cortland Sutton. I'll tell you that. Those would be the 2 veterans to get moved. I don't think any GM has given up on Pat Surtain this early unless you can land Caleb Williams or Drake May. It's not big names go, but it's not Surtain.
It's not giving up on him. This is very reminiscent of the Clinton Portis, Champ Bailey sort of deal a million years ago. Like, you're not giving up on him. It's not like that. Anyways, listen, this is nuclear problem level problems here. This is DEFCON 1. And, the lower you go in DEFCONs, by the way, the worse things are.
But Rachel, do you agree with me? Justin Simmons is more likely to get traded than Pat Surtain?
But I don't think Justin Simmons has the value that Pat Surtain does.
Right.
He's still a top 3 safety in the NFL. He guarantees if Bradley Chubb got you a first-round pick, Justin Simmons could get you 2 first-round picks.
Oh, my God.
He's a way better player than Bradley Chubb.
No way in a million years you couldn't get a first-round pick for Justin Simmons.
You think Bradley Chubb is more valuable than Justin Simmons on the trade market?
Frankly, I don't think teams would take on his salary. Teams don't like to pay that much money for safeties. It's not – he's overpaid for the value of his position. It's good for him, though. He deserves it. But teams aren't going to want to take that on. No way. No, his value, Justin Simmons,
wow.
3rd round, 4th round, maybe. I mean, nowhere close to a first round.
Let's just ask the people in the comments. Who do you agree with? Will Peterson or, I guess, myself and DMAC, that you could get 2 first-rounders for Justin Simmons? Of course, You guys, we don't want any of this to happen. We want the Broncos to be really good. But just if a scenario does arise, I think
let me fetch. I'm looking at what Von Miller fetched. Justin Simmons is a better player at this point than definitely Bradley Chubb. And at this point in their career, it's probably on par with Von Miller. I understand an edge rusher is more valuable than a safety. I do. But it's not apples to apples when Justin Simmons is a better player than Bradley Chubb.
It's all about relative value. I've preached about this a million times, and that's what you're seeing in this running back conversation. It's all about relative value. And, what's the relative value and abilities of a running back past 5 years when you can no longer really easily keep him anymore? Or maybe 6 years in terms of, you could extend a guy for his 5th year and then tag him if he's a first-round guy. You got to look at that. You got to look at where you are ability-wise. Hey, listen, if I'm wrong on this, cool. But I think if you could have got a first-round draft pick for Justin Simmons, Will, they would have done that, a long time ago. So see, and I got rid of him with.
He's angry, Mac. He's angry. We will move on to Coach Prime. I don't think I've ever seen Will just pop out of there. He's pissed.
Come back, Will. Come back.
Something. We'll try and get him back here in just a second, as I do see him actually popping back up. So we'll make fun of him just a little bit. Will, you got that upset? You just had to leave?
No, this is what happens though when DMAC gets me fired up. I start pulling up tabs, start Googling stuff, and my thing refreshed on itself and kicks me out. Jalen Ramsey, DMAC, got 2 first-round draft picks in October of 2019 when the Jaguars traded him to the Los Angeles Rams. That's a player in the secondary in the last 4 years that fetched 2 first-round draft picks.
Well, it's a different position. He's a shutdown corner, not a free safety.
You don't want shutdown corners. If you're going to say Pat Surtain's not that valuable of a player, now you're talking out of both sides of your mouth.
No, I am saying Pat Surtain is that valuable. I've repeatedly said Pat Surtain is that valuable. That's why you should consider it. It's a different position on the field. A free safety is not a shutdown corner. It's just a totally different position.
Don't pretend like you're leading the Pat Surtain bandwagon all of a sudden, D-Mac. I mean, you've been the hardest of anyone I know on Pat Surtain in the last 3 years.
Do you think I'm advocating trading him because I don't think he's good?
No, but I mean, between this and the whole Justin Fields thing, I mean, it's not like you're pom-pom for Pat Surtain 24/7, 365.
I'm pom-pom for the Denver Broncos. The decision on Pat Surtain, a corner over a quarterback was insanity, But now we're moving a couple years past it. It happens that what have you amassed with total wins with Pat Surtain? I mean, 9. I mean, what? I don't know what it is. 11, 6, and 5. 11. There's my Syracuse math clicking in. That's my Arizona State math, actually. So listen. Let's hope this is not an issue. Let's hope everything works out. This is really all about quarterback anyways, as everything is in the NFL. So let's just hope, we can shelve it all. And Russell Wilson's bought in enough. He's definitely not totally bought in, but let's hope he's bought in enough to win them some games.
Oh my gosh, you guys. I love having both of you on. I really do need to bring my popcorn every single time because you never know what we're going to get out of you two. We can all agree, though, that we are wishing Coach Prime up in Boulder good luck today, as he will be undergoing a follow-up surgery on a blood clot, and then he's going to be straightening out his toes, Will Peterson. What else can you tell us about this?
Yeah, so I wrote about this yesterday at denversports.com. Coach Prime, posted an Instagram video where he said, "You just got to hear from me. I'm getting 2 surgeries. 1, like you said, Rachel, more blood clots removed. And 2, he had the camera pan to his foot that he only has 3 toes left on. 2 have been amputated. I don't think we need to show the image. I think people can seek it out if they want to see it. Yep. Pretty tough to look at. Shows you how tough Coach Prime is. And these 3 toes, they're not like normal toes. They're like flat. So they're gonna straighten said toes out today in a thing to make it easier for him to walk. Because you look at it now and it's like, I don't really know how someone uses that foot in a functioning manner, because he's minus 2 toes. And again, the toes aren't toes, they're curled up. So they're going to use some sort of device to straighten him out. And he vowed he will run on the field against TCU.
He also had this as the caption. It said, "Following my doctor's recommendation and will be going in for another procedure. Unfortunately, this means I will not be in attendance of Pac-12 Media Day, but this will ensure I am back on my feet for the start of fall camp. Good day and God bless. Coach Prime, see you Buffs football." T-Mac. I mean, we talked about that yesterday.
All of our thoughts are with Coach Prime. And I talked about this yesterday. Coach Prime and I are the same age. And the concept of going through, I just can't imagine it. I just can't imagine it. Makes you really grateful for what you have. And there's no amount of money or success that, there's nothing more important in life than just health. Okay. And in your, mid-50s, you're still a relatively young human being, or at least you've got plenty of good years you should in front of you. So, I really, really, oh man, if he could run out, oh my gosh, I would start crying if I saw something like that, knowing what he's been through. So my thoughts are with him and his family today. And I hope for the absolute best. So what he's had to deal with. And then he's got these jokers like, the Oklahoma head coach ripping him. Like, I mean, what an idiot, sorry.
Wait. I missed this. What happened?
Will, what's his name? I forget. Venable. Yeah,
Venable, yeah.
Yeah, and he's like, I give my guys at least 12 months. Rip, and he said Prime's name directly, meaning he's being critical of Coach Prime moving on from so many players so quickly, and he's saying, well, I give my guys 12 months. Well, Coach Prime responded, it's like, hey man, you were handed a Ferrari, okay? Yeah. Coach Prime was handed a beaten down pickup truck that needs some major overhaul. And if you can get that pickup truck looking cool, a cool looking pickup truck is awesome. But that's not what he's got. They got Oklahoma over here. What does Oklahoma lose every year? 2-3 games max, something like that. I mean, you're giving 12 months to a whole litany of 4- and 5-star recruits at Oklahoma. Gee, coach, wow, aren't you amazing? So I was glad that Prime shot back. And frankly, just taking digs on Prime is sort of without knowing all the other things he's going through. It just feels unnecessary. Yeah. Like, why? How about, hey, man, I wish him the best, instead of taking some weird shots as if Oklahoma and CU were on the same level and made the same decisions. This guy, I don't know what the deal with this guy is, but he's not my guy. Coach Prime is.
Yeah, that was the biggest thing to me. It was like, you're not in the same conference. Prime didn't say anything about you, and you're some jackwagon at Oklahoma who just randomly has to bring up Prime. Like, I feel like Will Smith at the Oscars, like, keep my name out your mouth. Like, you don't need to just bring my name up out of nowhere because I'm Coach Prime and I'm living rent-free in your head at Oklahoma where you crashed and burned a team that was in the conversation for the national title every year. And they lost like 7 games last year because Lincoln Riley left and this new guy, Venable, who's talking smack about Coach Prime, sucks at his job. So it just, the whole thing felt inappropriate.
Oh, that just drives me absolutely nuts. I am obviously a CSU Ram like through and through, but you hear stuff like that and you're like, all right, well now I got to back up Coach Prime and CU. And I'm just like, why pick on him? And maybe it is because he is the entire talk of college football. CU and Coach Prime, that's the headline everywhere it goes. Like, I don't think I've ever seen Pac-12 Media Day have more hype than it does currently, but it pisses you off a little bit. I'm not going to lie, gentlemen. I'm a little fired up now after you told me this.
I think parents and kids have got to realize the landscape has changed. And high-level college football, if you want to play at the highest level in college football, you are entering a virtual professional league. And in virtual professional leagues, you can be cut at any time because of performance. Yeah. So it's not about just fielding a team. It's about performing at that high level. That's it. And if parents and kids don't accept that's the way it is, well, there's a lot of other schools that you can go play football at. Tons. Mm-hmm. There's other levels of Division I that you can play football at. Listen, I'm not trying to dog on CSU right now. If CSU were to get in the right conference, then we could start talking. But the way that things are slanted right now, if you can't get in one of the Power 5 conferences, you don't have a shot. So I know there's going to be, and I don't know the answer to this, but I know there's going to be 2 spots open in the Pac-12. And it does sound like the Pac-12 is going to try to stay together. So Will or Rachel, I don't know. I mean, is there any hope? Is there any chance CSU could get into, say, the Pac-12? Or is that just like ridiculous?
I would just say it's ridiculous, but I'm open I'll open my ears to if anybody has a way for them to do it.
Yeah, like why couldn't, for sake of argument, Nevada and CSU get in the Pac-12?
I mean, it would be a huge upgrade for Nevada and CSU, but I mean, if you're the Pac-12, no offense to those two, going from USC and UCLA,
I get it.
Nevada and CSU, that's about as big of a downgrade as you can get, going from the LA market to Reno and Fort Collins.
Well, and I was going to say, not to like pump up my Rams too much, but they did have a better record last year than CU did. So it's not like the quality of football really has a whole lot to do with it. I know that kind of sounds bad, but I think you're right, Will, that it's more about the market and the place of the team and less about the quality of it. So,
all right, well, what would the 2 best cities be to join the Pac-12 then? I mean, you mentioned LA, I get it, but we're talking about places like Corvallis, and Tucson, those aren't exactly bustling markets either. And, they're in the Pac-12.
But I think they're a little bigger than Fort Collins, Colorado. Don't get me wrong.
Tucson and Corvallis?
I would say Tucson is.
I would be stunned if Corvallis is bigger than Fort Collins. I might be wrong about that. And Tucson's not that big of a city. And where's Washington State at? What town are they in?
But also
Pullman. Yeah, Pullman. What's Pullman, Washington all about?
Like geography doesn't really matter anymore. So they can go to the whole country to fill these spots. I mean, if USC and UCLA are going to join the Big Ten, that was the ultimate geography doesn't matter. So it's not like they just have to get 2 Western teams to join the Pac-12. They could, in theory, get a team in the middle of the country to join the Pac-12. Why not go see if Kansas State is fed up with the Big 12 and wants to jump off that sinking ship? Like, that would be more attractive than Nevada. Kansas State would, I guarantee you that.
Should we ask a fellow K-State fan right down the hallway from me if he would move to the Pac-12?
Yeah,
of course he would. I mean, have you been?
I don't think he would, actually. Anthony. We'll see. Hold on. Continue. We'll ask. I don't think he actually would move down there.
Have you guys been to Manhattan, Kansas?
I have. Many times, actually.
Oh, my God. I mean, like,
would you want
the Big 12 is just loaded with lousy little towns. Lousy. I apologize. I don't mean to rip on these towns, but they're all kind of this, Manhattan, Lubbock, I don't know.
Thank you.
Stillwater.
Rachel's on the phone.
I just got told because the Big 12 is fun to watch and the Pac-12 is not fun to watch. He would not want Kansas State.
Okay. Well, that's fair because a lot of Pac-12 games, because they have the world's lousiest TV deal, air at like 8:30 at night.
Yeah. Fair enough.
Ridiculous.
But everyone, real quick on this, last point on this. Everyone says CU needs to get to the Big 12. And that's all the speculation. CU to the Big 12. CU to the Big 12. CU to the Big 12. Guys, CU needs to get to the Big 10. CU is a big dog now. Prime makes you a big dog in the landscape. Go play Ohio State every year. Go play Michigan. Go play USC. Go play UCLA. Go play Indiana in basketball. Purdue in basketball. CU needs to dream big because Prime allows you to dream big. Don't go back to the Big 12, which you left, 13 years ago for greener pastures?
I like
go
it.
to the Big 10. If USC and UCLA can go to the Big 10, CU needs to dream big. Big 10 or bust, baby.
I love it.
A little hype for CU right there, Will Peterson.
Yeah, don't.
Will, how many games are you even giving them to win? Because we also need to be realistic. They won 1 game last year, so an upgrade is them winning 4.
UCLA football hasn't won anything in forever. It's not like I don't think wins really matter. I think visibility matters. And guess what? USC and UCLA have visibility because they play in Los Angeles. And the Buffs have visibility because Coach Prime. You got the Oklahoma coach, can't keep Coach Prime out of his mouth. You got the Nebraska coach, can't stop talking about CU. Prime is the biggest thing in college football. He is the second most famous coach in college football right now. I mean, Saban's one, but maybe Dabo at Clemson is 2. I'm not sure anyone's more famous than Coach Prime except for those 2. The third most famous coach in college football should not drag your ass to Stillwater, Oklahoma to play in the Big 12. You need to be getting to the big house getting up there. Go up there. Go play Jim Harbaugh. Get up to Ann Arbor. That's what Prime can do.
I would inherently agree with Will on one point about winning. I think you got to win a little bit, but what you really got to do is be competitive. And not only was CU losing, they weren't even competing. I mean, it was like humiliating. Yeah. So I think you could get away with how many games they got? 12. I think you could get away with 4 and 8 is if in at least 6 out of those 8 losses, you're highly competitive, if you're sort of in the thing, you know. And I think people would say, okay, that's all right. We'll start getting better next year too. But if you go 3-9 and you're losing by 30 points and the vast majority of those losses like they were last year, I don't know if that's much of a season to be talking about.
Prime gets at least 2 years, if not 3.
I'm sorry. Different. Prime gets as much time as he wants.
No, I know, but I'm saying you can strike while the iron is hot. The commissioner of the Big Ten and the school presidents of the Big Ten, they're not going to turn down Prime because he went 3-9. There's just no.
I see what you're saying.
I'm saying that the Prime factor gives you 2 or 3 years to get to the Big Ten, regardless of the winning.
But here's the problem and what everyone is talking about. How long will Coach Prime be in Boulder?
Well, if he goes 3-9, he's going to be in Boulder for a minute. If he goes 9-3, he's going to be in Boulder for 2 years. So you better get to the Big Ten while you can. Use this guy for all he's worth. If he's gonna jump ship to Florida State, which he might, that's cool. But at least position your university to be in a more financially viable spot. And the Big Ten's a heck of a lot more financially viable than the Pac-12 is.
I think Prime's going to be there for 5 seasons. I think he's got 2 years with Shedeur, but they're going to have to build. But his daughter's also on the basketball team, and she's a freshman. Mm-hmm. And I think she did redshirt. There's something going on there. So I think there's 4 more years with his daughter being at CU too. So I think he'll see it out through his kids, specifically his daughter who's there. And after that, I think we'll see where it is. Here's a fun question. What coaches with their team longer, Sean Payton or Deion Sanders?
I literally was going to bring this up and say, you think that Prime will be in Boulder longer than Sean Payton will be with the Broncos?
I do because there's more motivation. First of all, he's younger than Sean Payton, and there's more motivation because his daughter is at CU, and they're establishing a really cool CU family thing. Not that his daughter couldn't transfer to Florida State or something like that, but I just think it's a little bit more solid of a base. And I think the turnaround time in college football takes way longer than in the NFL. I think Sean Payton will know if he can get the job done in 3 years, one way or the other. And I think those questions may be unanswered for Prime. And I think other big-time programs may be just like, hey, I want to see this work a little bit. However, Will pointed out something really brilliant there. At the end of the day, look what Prime does just with the program because he's Prime. So even if the Buffs only won 3 games, if you're a struggling ACC team or maybe even lower-level SEC team, okay, that sort of needs that pump up. Probably more likely in the ACC, actually. But those are the schools that can pay, what are we talking about? 13 to 18 million a year for a coach, along those lines. And hey, I'm not exactly sure what's going on with Florida State, but would Coach Prime really turn down 15 million a year to go back and coach and give it a shot where he once came from in Florida? So it could be less. It could be 1 year. Seriously. It could, I don't know what his total contract is, but I will bet Prime is there for 5 and Payton's there for 3.
The only thing I will say, and I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer on Prime or his health, but we all know that health or stress can deteriorate your health a lot more. And if Prime decides, this isn't worth all the extra stress that's going to come with everybody watching what this program is doing, I could see Prime leaving earlier because his health is more important at that point, which I don't blame him for.
Yeah, he's talking about getting his foot amputated. So, if he has to get his foot amputated, how does that work? Does he get some sort of prosthetic on there? Does he coach from a wheelchair? They are real-world questions and logistic questions of how that would affect his health moving forward. Not that he couldn't do it. His brain's still there. His swagger's still there. He could pull it off, but it would be a challenge for sure.
Oh, well, again, we are wishing Coach Prime well up in Boulder today. He has that both procedures done, I should say. But some other good news for football fans is the AFL is returning to Colorado. Didn't expect that one. I'm not going to lie. I feel like it kind of came out of nowhere. Maybe that's just me, but Will Peterson, anything else? You're writing all of our articles, I feel like, except maybe Mace wrote this one. I'm not sure.
No, I wrote this one.
See?
No, but that was not meant in a cocky way. Mace Mace is doing other good stuff. He's writing about the rookies for the Broncos. He's writing why Ryan Clady belongs in the Ring of Fame. Mace is killing it too. But listen, guys, they've had 2 AFL teams.
Mm-hmm.
Both won championships. The Denver Dynamite. I'll give you a trivia question. What year did the Dynamite win the AFL championship?
My first year back here in Colorado after my stellar 3rd grade year in Steamboat was 1999. So it had to be before that. But I do remember the Crush and quarterback John Dutton and winning that championship. And then they immediately stopped playing after that. But it has to be in the 80s, I would guess.
You're getting warmer. You're talking yourself into this.
70s?
No. You said it has to be before 99, correct?
Oh, okay.
It has to be in the 80s, correct. So
let me ask you a question. Where did they play?
The Crush played it, the Dynamite played at McNichols, and the Crush played at then Pepsi Center, now Ball Arena.
Well, that narrows it down, obviously, too.
84. I don't know.
I'd say 93.
Oh, damn.
Something like that.
We were getting closer in the 80s.
89. I don't know. Somewhere in the 80s. I already guessed.
They won in 87. The inaugural year of the AFL. They played in Denver from 87 to 91. I didn't know any of this. I did all this research yesterday for the article. And then the Crush played in Denver from 2003 to 2008, won the title in 2005. So kind of in the middle of their tenure, they won it. Another trivia for you guys. Who were the 3 owners of the Colorado Crush?
Oh.
Well, for sure Pat Bolin was, because he put John Elway in charge of it. And John Elway hired his dad's best friend and then fired his dad's best friend. I'll never forget that little nugget in Colorado Crush history. So I don't know who owned the Crush. I thought Pat Bolin just owned the Crush start to finish. So
if you read the article yesterday, it was the 3 gentlemen in the picture at denversports.com. The 3 owners of the Crush. This is a wild hodgepodge in Denver sports. Rachel, you got to guess?
Well, I know the picture. Go ahead, continue, because I know one person who's in the picture, so I'm curious if this is true. Go ahead.
The 3 owners of the Colorado Crush are 3 legends in Colorado sports. Pat Bolin, John Elway, and Stan Kroenke.
Okay. So Stan owned a portion of it too? Is that why?
They were all in, some percentage-wise. I don't know.
Oh, okay. So they all sort of – I see. They all kind of owned it together.
Yep.
But I do believe the majority stake was with Pat Bolin, but that would make sense why they would be at Ball Arena, which they were, or Pepsi Center, I guess, back in the day.
Yeah, Stan's like, you want to play here, give Dad a little slice,
Exactly.
So who would own this team?
So that's unclear yet. The team name and the owner have not been announced yet. Very few details other than starting in April of 24, they will play 10 games. We still don't know the location either.
Yeah.
Ball Arena makes sense, but they could play up in Loveland. We don't know.
Actually, Ball Arena does not make sense if they're beginning games in April. Ball Arena makes little to no sense. We saw how active things were with the Avs and the Nuggets during that time. I mean, there are stretches. Now, I mean, I guess you could do it.
The Mammoth in, though.
I was pointing it out. The Mammoth played there, so I'm not saying it's impossible. But 10, I don't know. I mean, maybe they could. Listen, did you guys go to any Crush games? One. Yeah, here's the problem I had with indoor football, okay? Getting a defensive stop was like a miracle. And the whole game came down to, if a team could get 2 defensive stops. So what that turned out to be was even though you're scoring a lot of touchdowns, I felt it was boring. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
It just wasn't all that interesting because, it was all about, making 2 defensive stops. Other than that, teams just scored left and right. You went to one game. I went to a dozen. I went to a bunch of Crush games. Okay. I tried out for the Crush. I literally tried out to be a kicker for the Crush. I made 2 out of 3 from 35 yards out on the fields at the Broncos training facility. I have a Colorado Crush tryout T-shirt that I could, find for you guys. So, I mean, I know all about the Crush.
We need to find that T-shirt.
You want to give me a second? Talk to Will. All right, see if I can find it. Talk to Will.
Oh, incredible. Okay, so Will, my question is kind of along the points of what DMAC just said. Would you rather have an XFL team or the AFL?
I think the AFL, because the XFL to me just feels like a crappier version of the NFL, whereas the AFL feels like it's a totally different game because DMAC's on one today. All of a sudden, he doesn't like offense. He's like, well, the game stunk because there was too much scoring. It's like, what? Who doesn't like scoring? Who doesn't like offense? So, yeah, give me the more unique thing over the thing I've seen before with, former NFL players, Ben DiNucci and Philip Lindsay. I don't think there's a reason they're not in the NFL anymore.
See, the XFL is so interesting to me, and maybe it's because I like the outdoor aspect of it. When I think of the AFL, I think of lacrosse and I think of the Mammoth. I know obviously two very, very different sports, but like it's that same environment. So I just automatically, oh my gosh, if he found it, you guys, I'm going to absolutely die.
Are you guys ready?
Unbelievable.
Okay, my tribute to indoor football. My tryout shirt.
T-Mac, I'm so proud of you.
How about that?
You've done that in a really quick time. Is that like a 90 for you?
Isn't that crazy?
Do you like
Did
sleep
you hear
in it
Will?
and relive your glory days? Like I was so close to playing.
I mean, look, it says tryout camp. Tryout camp.
Oh my God.
Was this a bit for the radio station or was this serious?
Of course it was a bit for the radio station. And I think it was KBPI when I worked at KBPI at the time. Because what was the first year of the Crush? 2003? Yeah, and they fired me in 2004. So I got the summer before they fired me, I tried out. It was fun. And so I really did that. I mean, I was on the playing field at Dove Valley. I stretched, I warmed up, I ran a couple of gassers, and I really did make 2 out of 3 from 35 yards. And then they backed it up to like 40, and I was like, whatever. It was a goofy bit for me. I played soccer my whole life, and I can kick 30, 35-yard field goals. I can do that. It's not that big of a deal. There were guys there that were really serious about it. So while it was a goof for me, I felt a little bad as I was going through it because I was being like, a goofball. But there were other guys there that was so serious about it. So I didn't want to, stay super goofy with it because they were taking it so seriously. But there were a million guys out there. And this was the color they gave kickers. Kickers got like mud brown. That's what the kickers got.
I can't believe you found that.
Faded over the last 20 years a little bit too.
Yeah. But there were guys there that were, here's what was crazy. There were guys there like booming 50-yard plus field goals like no big deal. And then there was one guy, his whole shtick was drop kicking. I swear to God, his whole tryout was catching and drop kicking the ball. And I'm like, dude, you're never going to make the team. Nobody's going to be looking for a drop kicking expert. So it was a wild day. I got cut. I did not make the team because I could not kick a ball more than 30. But here's what's ironic. How many kicks are more than 35 yards in arena football anyway?
How many people think that we should have DMAC go out to a field goal and see if he can still kick 35 yards?
Oh man, it's been a minute. I don't know now. I mean, I used to be able to do it. There was a time. That time may have that time my hamstrings and quads may have passed me at this point. Who knows? I mean, I haven't tried it. I probably haven't tried it since then. Whatever year that was, 20 years ago.
So funny. Oh, people are saying yes in the comments. We might have to make it happen, DMAC.
Well, I'm not making any claims about what I can do now, considering I haven't tried in 20 years. But there was a time. There was a time.
Fair. I asked Will this question while you were rummaging through maybe your pajama drawer looking for that shirt. Would you rather have an XFL team or an AFL team?
Wow.
I didn't think
what is the point? Like, what am I trying to do?
Just which one would you rather watch, I guess?
I would rather, would I rather watch it or own it?
Oh, well, I guess, let's watch it because that's probably more realistic.
Watch it. I'll just tell you, it's more entertaining watching an indoor team than an XFL team.
Okay.
Period. I mean, that's not close. But
see, I'd rather watch the XFL.
Both are kind of boring, though. I mean, they both kind of stink.
Yeah.
They're both kind of boring. Here's the truth with football. Aside from high-level Division I football in the NFL, football stinks to watch because football played at a lower level is just slower and boringer. You know, I'll put high-level high school football to or your own high school. So your own high school, high-level D1, NFL. Other than that, I think we've seen the rest of football is just not all that interesting.
Okay. It's interesting. Well, he said the AFL.
Yeah, I that's why I said my man, because while you were in the jammy drawer, I answered the question the same way. So
okay.
I'm glad as we near the end that you and I are on the same page.
And you know why, guys, seriously? It's because it's so hard to be a great quarterback. Playing quarterback it is.
We've gone full circle.
It's hard to do, man. And you can get away with it in college football because it's goofier. And you can certainly get away with it in high school. You can't get away with it in the NFL or what we're used to watching. By the way, I'm not trying to rag on anybody here. I don't watch any lower level sports. You know, I don't care. You know, it's not, I'm not ripping on anybody in particular, but if it's not a high level of sport played for something meaningful, why am I watching it? And I don't. I just don't. But because I think I do appreciate what it takes to compete on the highest of levels. So you give me something like I will 1,000% be watching the Women's World Cup. No doubt about it, because that's the highest level of play that means the most with the best athletes. There's already been an upset. New Zealand finally won, and they haven't won in 5 previous. They're one of the co-hosts with Australia. Australia beat Ireland. I'm not sure when the U.S. plays, but it's happening at kind of a wild time too, because it's over in Australia and New Zealand. But I'll pay attention to that. But I'm not going to watch, no offense here, but I'm not going to watch, like, if there's a women's league, I'm not watching that. But I'm not watching men's league stuff, too, if it's not English Premier or something on a higher level. I just don't care.
That's what I've always said the problem with MLS will be here in the States is they want to watch the best of the best, and the best of the best are not playing here in the United States. They're all over in Europe, and that's why it will never advance to what is fast. And
I'll tune in one time to watch Messi. One time I'll tune in to watch Messi because, okay, and will I really tune in or will I just watch a bunch of highlights? You'll
just watch it to see what he looks like, not the actual game.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Okay, my last one on this is, do we think that whatever the name of this AFL team is going to be, will they succeed here in Denver?
No.
I think it depends who the ownership group is. Like if we find out tomorrow that Peyton Manning bought the, Colorado Cutthroats, then sure. Like give me them to win titles.
Dude, you brought Rachel.
Twice though,
Rachel, you don't even know what Will just referenced, though. The Cutthroats were a minor league hockey team that played at the Denver Coliseum. Quick story. We took my kids' 12-year-old hockey team for a Cutthroats game. And the way they used to do it, they would play on back-to-back nights because of travel reasons. Okay. So we go to take these 12-year-olds to a Cutthroats game at the Denver Coliseum, okay? In the first second of the game, the entire 2 teams fought each other. And we had no idea. And they dropped the puck, and it was 5-on-5 fighting, and the goalies probably fought too, because they had got in some sort of fight the previous night that we had no idea about. So we're taking all these kids into a Cutthroats game, and it's instant fighting. And I'm like, yeah, I guess that's that will be the last Cutthroats game that I go to. So that was a very subtle little reference by Scrappy Will over there with the Cutthroats. But the Cutthroats failed, as most minor league teams fail. The only way to do it, frankly, for longevity, is like the Colorado Eagles. But they are supported by the Avalanche too. But the people up north love the Eagles. They've got great relationships. But the thing with the Eagles there are so many players on the Eagles that are this far away from being in the NHL. And it happens all the time. How many guys on this Colorado indoor team are this far away from playing in the NFL? The answer is going to be 0.
Okay. Interesting.
So I wish them the best. But if they have any chance, go someplace small where the community can fall in love with them. Opening up in Denver will be like a death sentence. Nobody will go.
I second that statement right there, D-Mac. I do. I think it would be a death sentence. I think people in Denver already have too many teams to try and pay attention to, so I'm with you right there. But we will go in the headlines because, D-Mac, you gave the Rockies 10 days to grab your attention. What do you think of yesterday?
Well, it wasn't bad. It wasn't great. They only got like 2 hits. But
they almost got no hit. Their one hit going into the 9th inning was an infield single, and it wasn't bad?
Well, their second hit was a home run by C.J. Cron, and the final score was 4-1. It wasn't a blowout. It was kind of interesting. I get it. They got to hit better than 2. All right.
I have the draft at denversports.com. Rockies almost get no hit, and it wasn't bad.
Well, you say they almost got no hit.
Hitter in the history of the ballpark in 30 years, but it wasn't bad.
They didn't get shut out, and they hit a home run, and it was a 3-run game. It was a reasonable game going into the last inning where they got a home run. I don't know, man. And the last out of the game was caught like the guy saved a home run at the warning track against the fence. Listen, man, if you want to just crap on the Rockies, go for it. I mean, there's plenty of ammo to do so. But,
they almost get no hit, but I'm crap on the Rockies guy. Got it.
I don't know. You're asking me how it was, and I told you how the game went. They lost by so now I'm making excuses because they lost by 3 and they hit a home run late in the game and almost hit another home run to end the game. All right, cool. They suck. I don't know what to say here.
Popcorn. I need my popcorn for both of you. Will you're
are we going to
ignore 8 innings and your one hit is an infield single, and the answer is wasn't bad. I mean that's the definition of bad. You made 24 outs, and your 25th guy hit a little squibber, and just because it had English on it and he got to first base, wasn't bad. I mean, they almost got no hit for the second time in the history of the franchise at Coors Field.
All right. Well, they didn't even get shut out, though. I mean, what's worse, getting shut out? What's worse, Will? What's worse? 2 hits, 3-run game, or you lose by 10 and you get 10 hits. What's worse?
I'd rather have the 10 hits.
You'd rather have 10 hits and get shut and lose by 10? You'd rather have 10 hits and lose by 10 than 2 hits and lose by 3. How does that make any sense?
I mean, at least 10 hits, I have some hope that my guys can hit the baseball.
You lost by 10 runs. You were never in the game.
But we know they can't pitch, D-Mac. James and I talked about this on Denver Sports Tonight last night. If you can't pitch, we know that. But now in the last 17 innings, they have 2 runs. So they can't hit the ball either. So they don't have pitchers. They don't have hitters. They don't have good ownership group. The manager is Teflon. Like, what is there to like about the Rockies?
This is a weird wiggly road that Will's going down because he's referencing a low amount of runs in 17 innings, but he fails to mention they actually won the previous game 4-3. So, I don't really care what innings runs come in when you win a game. There's pitching, there's defense, there's other elements of baseball. And you got me defending the 3rd worst team in Major League Baseball right here, which is kind of absurd, but at least be accurate with what you're saying. They split a series with the Astros, who won the World Series last year, and they won a series against the New York Yankees. So we're just forgetting about that, right? We're just focusing on the fact that they lost by 3. Like that's a bad thing, losing by 3, not even getting shut out, because now we care about the number of hits? Huh?
I just think the bar is low when they almost get no hit, and the answer for how the game went is not bad.
I don't even know. Did the Astros make any? Did the Astros make any errors? Were there any walks given up?
Couple, like 2.
Okay, so they had runners on base. So they had 2. Wait, the Astros had 2 errors?
No,
or the Astros gave up 2 walks.
2 walks, no errors.
2 walks. Well, a walk is as good as a hit, Will. I mean, so I guess we're talking about 4 times that you got on base. I guess. I mean, we're talking about total bases in a game, right? I mean,
last time I checked, they still track no hitters, and those are a heck of a lot easier than perfect games. A lot of no hitters have walks in them.
I mean, my analytic juices are sort of bubbling to the surface here because there's no difference between a single and a walk, my friend. None, 0. It's
well, then why do we count no hitters then? In your world, we should only count perfect games.
No hitters are okay. They're cool. I think no hitters are cool, but it's nowhere close to a perfect game. That's why perfect games are like one of the most rare things ever. But listen, man, there's been a lot of no-hitters. There's been a lot of combined no-hitters. No-hitters are cool, no-hitters are cool, but if you give up, you could have a no-hitter and give up 7 walks and allow like 4 runs. I mean, there are guys who have lost games pitching a no-hitter because they allow runs other ways, because their team maybe is lousy on defense and there's a bunch of errors. I mean, no-hitters
are no big deal. No big deal. No-hitters are no big deal. I hope the Rockies get no-hit 4 times and we can come on here and say they didn't play that bad. They got no-hit.
Will, you realize the Rockies could win a game that they get no-hit in, right? You realize that could happen, right?
The record in no-hitters in MLB history is like 150-2. Like, you're looking at the 2 examples where there's you had a better chance of winning the $1 billion Powerball jackpot last night.
How many no-hitters are also shutouts? I bet most, but I bet not all.
97%.
Every perfect game is a shutout. That's how rare that is. There are no hitters, Will, that teams score runs. It does happen.
Before D-Mac has smoke coming out of his head, we will end this episode of Coffee Break.
I think we're just getting going.
Because I really need it. We'll see you guys tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. for another episode. Yeah, the tryout camp. Don't worry, everybody. That shirt's going back in the jammy drawer. We'll see you all tomorrow morning. Bye.